Hey, what's going on, everybody? FullFrontage here today, bringing y'all a Clash Mini video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a tier list, in my opinion, about which minis and heroes rank where, and we're going to be starting with the minis. So first off, I think I'm going to have to put the Knight into a C tier. I don't think the Knight is as good. I don't think he synergizes as well in the current meta, but yeah, I think it pretty much speaks for itself. Next up is going to be the Barbarian. The Barbarian is definitely in the S tier. The Barbarian is super strong right now with the recent balance changes, so he definitely belongs in that S tier. For the Wizard, I'm actually going to put the Wizard in the B tier, and I'm only putting the Wizard in the B tier because he does have the ability to counter heal, which is pretty decent against the Barbarian King. There are some meta decks that actually go well with the Wizard, so I'm going to throw the Wizard into that like mid tier because he's not insanely meta, but he's not completely out of the meta, kind of like the Knight. And then I'm also going to do the same thing with the Guard. The Guard actually synergizes pretty well with certain Archer Queen decks because when you have the Miner and Archer, that works really well against the Archer Queen. Having that Guard kind of in the back with the shield ability is going to be super crucial for tanking for that Miner, Prince, Archer, whatever it might be. But other than that, I don't think the Guard fits really well, only really with the Archer Queen. Next up is going to be the Ice Wizard. I'm going to also throw the Ice Wizard in the B tier for pretty much the same reasons. Not too dominant in the meta, not insanely good, not like a sought after mini, but I think it's going to be okay. And then for the Spear Goblin, I think we're going to throw the Spear Goblin into the C tier with that Knight. He's really just not meta right now. Mini Pekka, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to put him at the end. I'm actually going to put the Spear Goblin there. Mini Pekka, pretty much the same thing. Not a requirement. I haven't seen too much Mini Pekka. I don't think Mini Pekka is that good right now. I think it's just kind of okay. I would actually probably rather the Mini Pekka than the Knight in most situations. Dark Goblin, I'm going to put the Dark Goblin in the A tier. Dark Goblin is very good. I don't consider Dark Goblin to be S tier just yet, but I think the Dark Goblin is very strong. Bowler, I'm probably going to go with the Bowler into the C tier as well. Don't see it too feasible at all. It's kind of just fallen out of the meta. You can kind of counter it with Archer Queen, but or counter Archer Queen with it, but it's not as dominant. I think there are better options for that. Mega Knight, I'm going to throw in the A tier. I think Mega Knight is a very good tank right now. The stun, the upgrades, every time you upgrade the Mega Knight, he gets +6 hit points. So I think Mega Knight is probably one of the best tanks, if not the best tank in the game. Electro Wizard, this feels so good to say, but I'm going to throw the Electro Wizard just behind the Bowler in the C tier. Ewiz, not that great right now. Feels really good to say that. Lumberjack, I'm actually going to throw in probably at the back of the A tier. I'm kind of torn between A tier, B tier, at the front of the B tier, back of the A tier, but the Lumberjack with the Clash ability is really good. If you don't have that 3rd star ability, which is the Clash, then Lumberjack probably falls somewhere in this B tier range, but I'm going to throw him at the end of the A tier. Healing Ranger, for me, is a D. This is one of 2 units that I would classify as a D tier unit. It's just not good. It's not usable at all in the current meta. It's just not that good. And then the next one that's going to go in the D tier is the Valkyrie. Valkyrie, pretty much the same thing. It's just not good right now. I just don't really see a use for it. I think there are better 3 elixir cost units that synergize a lot better with the current meta and the current heroes in the meta. I just don't see the Valkyrie being that good right now. Magic Archer, I'm going to throw at the end of the B tier. I think Magic Archer is pretty good right now, and I don't think we've seen his full potential just yet. So at the current time I'm making this video, I'm going to throw the Magic Archer in the B tier because I think he has a potential to be really good, unlike the C tier, but it's kind of not there for me just yet. At Miner, I'm going to throw the Miner into the A tier just behind the Mega Knight. I think the Miner is a very good unit to have. It's a high priority mini when creating decks. It synergizes really well with the Prince. It works really well with Barbarian Kings as well. So Miner overall, very good card. Giant Skeleton, I'm going to throw at the front of the B tier. I don't think he's like a must-have like he was in the previous meta, but he is a very good unit to have. He synergizes pretty well with the Archer Queen and an alright amount with the Barbarian King, and even the Giant Skeleton and even the Shield Maiden and Countess. So I would say the Giant Skeleton is like a really good card, but if you have the Giant Skeleton, you can't really have other 3 elixir or 4 elixir minis. You can have one of each, but you don't really want to have like 2 3 elixirs and a 4 elixir. It kind of balances out. So you really need to work your way around Giant Skeleton to fit it into your deck. And the next one is going to be the Musketeer. I'm going to throw the Musketeer right behind the Giant Skeleton in the B tier. I don't think we've seen the full potential of the Musketeer just yet. I'm really contemplating on whether to put it at the back of the A tier, honestly, behind the Lumberjack. But I think for a 3 elixir mini, it's by itself, it's not as good as, for example, Dart Goblin, but it does have a great synergy with the Archer Queen in terms of the knockback, keeping things back. But overall, I would say it's really solid, but it's not one of the best minis in the game. Next up is the Archer. I'm going to throw the Archer into the A tier right behind the Miner. Archer is very, very good right now. It's not a requirement, kind of like the Barbarian. S tier is like, you pretty much need to have this mini in your deck. So it's not a requirement, but it is a very, very good unit to have. Next up is the Pekka. I'm going to throw the Pekka. I kind of want to tie it, like these 3 are like tied for me, right? Because the Pekka has really good synergy with the Mega Knight, surprisingly. And it works really well with the Royal Champion deck. If you saw my Small Cup announcement video, I was playing a Royal Champion deck with the Pekka and the Miner, or Pekka and the Mega Knight, I should say. So I think Pekka is pretty good right now. I don't think it's a requirement. Again, that's kind of like B tier is like, it's good, but it's not a requirement. A tier is like, yeah, you probably want one of these at least 2 of these minis in your deck. And then S tier is like, you have to play this. It's kind of what we're going at. And the Prince, I'm going to throw in the A tier, kind of tied with the Miner. The Prince is very good, and again, not a requirement to have in your deck, but if you do have it in your deck, it is one of the best minis in the game, being able to connect with your opponent. And the big thing about the connection is making it so that the units that you are connecting with sent to the back are going to make a difference. For example, like the Giant Skeleton, if you're able to get a Prince to connect with the Giant Skeleton, you're going to open your front line to be able to move in and knock that Giant Skeleton back and have it stay alive just a bit longer, which will make your units push forward. So that's pretty good. And the Battle Healer, I'm actually going to throw the Battle Healer in the B tier. It synergizes really well with Shield Maiden and Barbarian King right now, but again, it is not like 100% a requirement to have in those decks, so I'm going to float it around that B tier. Now we're going to talk about the heroes. I think Countess is a C tier. I don't want to put Countess in D tier because it is still, if you're really good with the Countess and you have good synergy units as well, again, 2 units that pair really well with the Countess is the Mega Knight and the Pekka. So I'm going to throw the Countess in the C tier. This is not in any rank in terms of like whether I think it's better than these minis. I'm just saying like this is the Countess, this is the hero section of it, and I'm going to put the Countess in the C tier. And I'm also going to do the same thing with the Monk. I think the Monk is better at lower levels than it is at higher levels, and vice versa. I think the Countess is better at higher levels than it is at lower levels. But I think both of those units are probably C tier units. And then the Shield Maiden, I'm going to throw in the B tier because overall it's pretty good, but its level 10 ability is just not good. It's a boast for +1 energy, which really doesn't do much. So I would say overall the Shield Maiden is not great. It's not a hero I would personally prioritize, but I think it's still good. Like it can still win, which is why I'm putting it in that B tier. I think it has a higher percentage win rate than the Countess and the Monk for sure though. And the Royal Champion, I'm going to throw in the A tier. It is borderline S tier, and I say borderline S tier because if you don't have the Royal Champion at level 10 and have that bounce ability where it's going to be, where the shield is going to be able to hit 2 targets, it's not that great. Like, it's still good, but it's not that great. So I would put the Shield Maiden in the A tier, and then of course the Barbarian King and the Archer Queen in the S tier. Those two heroes are like absolutely must have. So this is the tier list that I think represents the game right now. Again, S tier is like, you gotta play these. Like, so Barbarian is an absolute in most decks. Even some Archer Queen decks, I would prioritize having the Barbarian in there. Any other hero you need to play, definitely having the Barbarian. Archer Queen, you can actually get away with not having the Barbarian, but Barbarian is a very, very, very required mini for most of the decks. And then the A tier is going to be that you probably need like two of these minis, maybe 3, to fit in your deck well. And then B can kind of just wrap up whatever you don't take from the A tier. C is like, you don't really play these minis. And then D, I'd be surprised if they get used very much at all. I think I've played over 24 hours of game time within Clash Mania, and I think I've seen 1 Valkyrie and 0 Healing Rangers. So D tier is just like, forget about them, don't even think about them. C tier is like, yeah, you probably don't need these. It's more B and up that we're paying attention to. But let me know if you agree with this, if you would change anything. Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you like this tier list? Do you like this series that we're doing? I could make this into a series where after every update, it's been about a couple weeks. Let the meta sink in for a couple weeks and then do a tier list like this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But that is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe for more content, and don't forget to turn that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you later. Peace out.